What was once the Eagles' biggest weakness in the past has suddenly become their strength, with over 15 cornerbacks on their pre-training camp roster. And while there are certainly plenty of locks to go ahead and make the team, I think some fans have forgotten about one promising cornerback battling back from injury who might be the solution at nickel. I got to speak with Eagles cornerback Zech McPhearson today. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. It was really just a few years ago where Zech McPhearson was one of the top-rated cornerbacks in the Big 12 and then was drafted in the 4th round by the Philadelphia Eagles out of Texas Tech. Being a 4th-round draft pick, McPherson obviously was going to make the roster, but starting at outside cornerback where he played in college wasn't necessarily a guarantee early on. Instead, special teams is where McPherson really found his home those first couple of seasons in the NFL, even earning NFC Special Teams Player of the Week in 2022. But after a promising training camp last year, McPherson would tear his Achilles in the Birds' preseason game against the Cleveland Browns, resulting in a long recovery during the course of the Eagles' up and down 2023 season. And during that time, he not only was recovering from the injury, but also starting up his Catalyst for Change nonprofit, where he held numerous community events in Philadelphia. But now McPherson probably faces his toughest test to date, right? Prove that he's healthy, prove that he can get back on the football field and be the same player that he was pre-injury in 2022, and also prove that he deserves to be on the roster surrounded by a lot of other really, really great cornerbacks. And today I sat down with Zech McPhearson for about 20 minutes. No question was off the table. We talked about his recovery. We talked about his expectations for 2024, the rookies, Quinyon and Cooper DeJean, a crowded cornerback room, the Eagles' collapse last year, his view from the inside, and a whole bunch more. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Joined by Philadelphia Eagles cornerback Zech McPhearson right now. Zach, I appreciate you jumping on. Let's just start with where you're at right now. You mentioned to me before we started recording this interview, you're working through rehab. Give us an update on your injury recovery, how you're coming back. Were you on the football field at all during minicamp, OTAs? Where are you at on the Achilles injury?
Yeah, so my injury is going real well. Currently, I'm down in Houston doing some rehab. I'm really down here for the weather too. Some good cardio with this humidity and hot weather too. So I feel like I'm really recovering well. I'm ready to get back in action. This mini camp went well as too. I was able to get back out in that field with the guys. I wasn't really fully let go in terms of unleashed. I wanted to, be wise about it. Me and the training staff talked about it. So, come training camp, obviously, I'll be free as a bird.
I want to go back to the beginning now. It sounds great that you're going to be back there for training camping. A lot of Eagle fans are excited to see you back on the football field. I want to go back to the beginning, though. You come out of Texas Tech, the 2021 NFL draft, a 4th-round draft pick. How much interest did the Eagles show to you during the pre-draft process? Were you shocked to be an Eagle, or was it not really a big surprise?
Honestly, the pre-draft process, it was so new to me at the time. And it was a little bit different, obviously, because of COVID as well. So, in terms of communication, teams had to do it differently. So, it was so weird. Only thing I remember, the only communication I had with the Eagles, I'm not sure if they were watching me. Obviously, they were watching me through college and like the All-Star games and stuff after my scout season. My scout came up to me and said, do you think you have what it takes to play in Philly? And I was like, of course, why wouldn't I? And he was like, I understand that, but he was like, it's a pretty rowdy city. The fans are, very intuitive. They're indebted to this team, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, isn't that what you want? And, that's the only time I've talked to any person of the Eagles organization. And, the rest is history.
Every April, I think all of us Eagle fans and people in the media, we kind of break down each Eagle draft class, like the 1st-round draft pick, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th. How much of a bond do you guys have in terms of your 2021 NFL draft class? Is it everyone's super close because you all came in together? Is it not necessarily that, as we would think? Your draft class had Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. How close are you to the 2021 Eagles class?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my Eagles class was really close. From Smitty, Millen, Kenny, Pat Johnson, Teron Jackson, me. It's so many of us. I feel like we're all pretty close knit, well bonded. Like I said, that whole COVID ordeal kind of made us close because I mean we were all up in Philadelphia a little bit earlier, stuck in a hotel, had to find some things to do, and that's how we bonded. So I feel like we're all pretty close.
your first 2 seasons, you come in as a cornerback, but special teams is kind of where you had to, make your way in the National Football League. How difficult is it to be, the top cornerback at Texas Tech, come to the NFL? You still, practice at cornerback. You're still trying to be a starting cornerback in this league, but you got to grind it through on special teams. I think a lot of people don't really understand how difficult that's got to be to maybe switch positions and be a gunner on special teams, or, do kick coverage. How was that for you in terms of coming in the NFL and switching it up?
Honestly, it was like a little new, because in college you're playing so much defense. You know, I would say to an extent, sometimes college players tend to overlook special teams when you're a starter on defense or offense. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. But coming to the NFL, I don't know. I kind of took pride in it. It was fun to me, going down, running down on kickoff, gunner, you name it, just to take somebody's head off. And that's my only job I had to do at the time. And, be ready when my name's called on defense. And, that kind of grew on me. I see that people can take careers in that. And, that was just my role on the team. So I took a lot of pride in that role, especially my first year, and then going into that Super Bowl year.
Going into 2023 in terms of training camp, right? You're coming off the Super Bowl year. You were fantastic on special teams in 2022. Right before the injury, though, and we'll get into that, the Eagles asked you to kind of move over to the slot nickel cornerback position, something you hadn't really done at the NFL level, not much in the college level. When they came to you, was it something that was like, hey, we just, we need depth here. We think you can be really good at this position. How was your mindset going into the nickel spot heading into that training camp last year?
I had some experience in college with it, so when they came to me and asked me to do it, I was already the prior season getting some work in it, like on scout team. So I was just like, let's do it. At that point, I want to get on the field on the defense side of the ball and just help the team win some games, and do what I can do. But it wasn't too much of a transition for me. I was kind of excited to get in there. Just that position allows you to be, a little bit more aggressive in the run game, and obviously, make an impact in the pass game as well. So I think the nickel is probably one of the funnest positions on defense, to be honest.
Let's go back to the preseason game, right? The one where the Achilles injury happens, August 17th against the Cleveland Browns last year. You make a great pass breakup of DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the quarterback of the Browns, and then come down awkwardly. The first initial days after an injury like that, what's going through your mind? Is it immediate recovery? Is it, feeling down? Is it trying to figure out how quickly you can get back on the football field? As a fan on the outside looking in, we see it happen. We're all bum-eyed, and then, the season starts off. What's it like for you whenever something happens like that at the very, very beginning?
My immediate reaction, I was pissed because, like, if you just think about it, like you put in so much work, like through training camp, OTAs, off season, and that was a pretty promising year in terms of like making an impact on defense for me. Finally getting that opportunity, and and then something like that happens, and it's just like, man, I just got stripped. Something that I was looking forward to. But I mean, you're surrounded yourself with guys like Brandon Graham, who had the same injury as me a couple seasons before, and he one thing he always told me is about perspective. He was like, it might not make sense now, but like looking down the road, you'll be like, man, like if that wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened. So he always was encouraging me through my treatment. And things like that, give me words of wisdom, and so I kind of changed my perspective on it, and I just try to keep my vision to what's in front of me, not what's behind.
In terms of your rehab, you mentioned that you're down in Houston. You're just finishing up rehab before you jumped on this interview. Again, as Eagle fans, Zach's getting healthier. He's working out. He's trying to, get back on the football field. Take us through what rehab is really like from an Achilles injury, from day one of it happening to where you're at right now. What do you kind of go through?
So honestly, like the first month or two, like you're really almost 3 months, you're non-weight bearing. Like it's rough. That non-weight bearing is so like it's such a long process because like you want to start like excelling. So I mean, you go from laying in the bed from like for like the first 2 weeks to crutching around to riding a scooter around to slowly getting back on the boot and putting prep. It takes forever. So I mean, that part was rough, and then you get to the part when you start walking, you kind of have a hitch in your walk, it kind of hurts a little bit still. You wake up in the morning, it's stiff. That's another hump in itself. And then the biggest hump of it all is when you start running. Like, man, that process of learning how to run again was something like I never thought I would have to. It's like being a newborn baby.
Jeez.
um you got to really strengthen that Achilles, strengthen it back to 100% to where it was, and that's something that I had. I didn't have trouble with, but it was something mental that I had to really push myself through.
You're obviously working on that on the sideline. I don't want to. I only have one question from the 2023 season because you're trying to recover while the team is going through the ups and downs of last year, and then we'll move on to 2024. There's been a lot of talk in the media, a lot of fan bases or a lot of fans talking about dysfunction, right? The big losing streak at the end of the year. Is it a coaching issue? Is it a player issue? Was there any butting heads? And we haven't gotten a really deep peek into that. And I think, understandably, I think Brandon Graham mentioned a little bit during his press conference last week. You have a unique perspective, though, because you're not playing, but you're still in and around the organization. What was your overall opinion on what happened in 2023 from your angle?
Um, I mean, I feel like it's a mix of things. It's so tricky to get into, and obviously in my position, I can't really say too much, but um, I just felt like we lost sight of the goal in a way. That goes everybody included, from coaches all the way down to the players. But I mean, it was just we were in such a rough spot. We tried to dig ourselves out, but we just couldn't stop the bleeding. So I mean, I feel like it was more of like a one of those things, like you just take it for what it is, take it to the chin, and use that as a learning experience. That's kind of what we're doing this year. We don't want to experience those feelings again, the feeling of losing however many games we lost straight, because it just wasn't fun. And when those negative vibes are in the air, it's kind of infectious. It's hard to stop, like that spreading disease. You got to chop off that limb and nip it in the bud early, and I feel like we didn't do that. So it just spread like a wildfire, and that was just the sum of the rest of that season. It wasn't a talent issue. Um, it wasn't necessarily like a coaching issue. I just feel like it was something that was within us. We just couldn't stop that wildfire.
The head coach Nick Sirianni, he's been under a little bit of fire just this offseason with the new coordinators coming in, and yet two years ago he's coaching in a Super Bowl, right? And the entire Philly fan base and media loves him. You've been there basically since the beginning of Nick Sirianni. What's a difference you've seen in the 2024 iteration of Nick Sirianni with the new coaches and coordinators around him versus maybe last year or 2022 or 2021 that you've noticed?
Nick does a phenomenal job. I mean, since the day I came in, obviously me and Nick came in together. In terms of coaching this team, um, I say Nick is just doing a great job with it. He's a really inspiring coach. He brings the best out of his players. He truly cares about all his players. Um, and that's what you want in a coach that fully trusts his players, no matter what role you have on the team, and a coach that cares about the culture of this team is everything you need to have a winning program. And I feel like he embodies every single all those things. And I'm not just saying this stuff to sound cliche, but I've been around a good amount of coaches throughout my football career, and Nick is one of those guys who's different. And, I mean, it's hard to make it to the Super Bowl in your second year as a head coach. Even going to the playoffs, forget all that. Going to the
Yeah.
playoffs 3 years in a row, that's not easy. A lot of teams. I have a lot of buddies in the NFL who haven't even sniffed the playoffs. So Nick, he's doing the right things. The players love him. We follow his lead.
I want to ask you about the cornerback room heading into 2024 here. Philadelphia the past couple of years has had strong cornerbacks at the top and then not necessarily a ton of depth behind, the James Bradberries and the Darius Slays of the world. This year they have, 15 guys at least currently on their roster, all battling to go ahead and make the team in the practice squad. What's your mindset heading into a crowded cornerback room like it is right now in terms of doing what you need to do to, be as productive as possible on the outside?
Me personally, I mean, I feel like going into this training camp, I just keep doing what I'm doing. I try to block out all the extra things. I tell myself I'm healthy now. I'm ready to fully unleash. Obviously, this competition is healthy for the room. The room needed it. It's something that probably I would say hasn't been there my past couple years here. But I mean, I know what sets me apart from a lot of players, and I have that edge. But I'm just ready to get back into it and have some fun with this.
The new rookies, Quinyon and Cooper DeJean, Eagle fans are super excited what they bring to the cornerback room in terms of just overall depth and first-round draft pick, second-round draft pick. What have you seen from them, being now a veteran in the league with two young cornerbacks coming in? Again, very little sample size, but through the first couple of OTA practices, mini camp, being in the building, overall, recap, I guess, so far of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
I say the biggest thing is they listen. They listen. They just keep their head down. They listen to what is being told to them, whether it's from a coach or an older player, and they apply it to the field immediately. And a lot of times, you get rookies that come in, and it's like a lag. It's nothing on them personally, but it's just they're still adjusting. Things are still going fast. They can't process it. But those two guys, they process it and they apply it, and I feel like that's the biggest thing, especially being a young player. That's how you gain the guys' trust around you from the coaches as well, and that's what they do. I mean, they're great players. They're fast. They playmakers. So I'm excited that they're here.
Vic Fangio is your, I think, third defensive coordinator now. You had Gannon and then Desai, and now Vic Fangio in there to lead the defense. Everyone keeps talking about how he's like night and day different, right? In terms of being this older guy who's been in the league for a long time. He's a little bit tougher. I think Jordan Davis said, no nonsense, no BS was his actual quote there at the podium. Biggest difference between Vic Fangio and other defensive coordinators you've worked with. What would you say it is?
I'm trying to think of a word. I'm not saying the other guys weren't all about ball. I love
Sure.
JG. I love Desai, but Fangio is by the book, if that makes sense. We gonna come in this meeting. We buy the book. Screw all other stuff. Let's get straight into this install. And that just embodies him as a coach. He's old school. He always mentions how back in the day, they used to have 2-a-days or sometimes even 3-a-days. And he says he wish he can bring it back, but obviously now with the NFLPA, the CBA, we can't do that anymore, and practices are limited. It just shows what type of coach he is. He really has a love for the game, and he's all about ball.
James Bradbery has been in the news a little bit the past couple of months. Two more questions. I'll let you go here. But I want to ask about Bradberry's movement to safety. Did you guys get told? How did you find out that Bradberry was going to get worked out at safety before his OTA injury? Was it just in a meeting? Or did you find out that day? Just curious in terms of how that went down inside the building.
It was kind of one of those things. Meetings, and then obviously, us guys we talk. So, we got word that he was gonna transition. He told us, and start doing cross training between corner and safety, and he started doing it, and he looked really well. Once you get to that age, and so many years in the league, like him and Slayer, it's like the reading a book that you read a million times. They're so smart. They're so intelligent. It was such an easy transition for him, and he'll still be at corner as well too. So I think that was a good move for James.
I want to ask you finally, and I'll let you go, about the special teams coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, Michael Kelee. He's had a fascinating career because you go back a couple of years and it's like, the Eagles special teams is no good in 2021. You got to get rid of him. And then 2022, they're fantastic. You're a big part of that. And now people are talking about Kelee being, a future head coach. They're grooming him to be a future head coach. What's the best part about him from a coaching perspective that you could see transition to be a head coach in the future?
Everybody loved Kelee. Let me put that straight. Kelee is the guy around the building. He got a bright smile. He's infectious. He likes to have fun with the game. Very relatable. And I think Kelee has what it takes. Kelee's a great coach. He's very inspiring. He's one of the best coaches I had ever since playing ball. So, him, Tyler Brown, and Joe P. They're all great coaches. So they do a great job on the special team side of the ball, and that goes to show. Last year we had one of the best special teams in the NFL. So I'm excited for Kelee and his future, and especially this upcoming year, and what he has to come.
Well, we're excited to see the Eagles this year. Excited to see you get back on the football field in training camp. I really appreciate you coming on. I want to quickly mention Justin Brown, give him a shout out for setting this thing up. Follow him on Instagram, JustDollas07. I'll link it down below in the description box. Zach, good luck down in Houston, getting ready for the upcoming training camp season, and best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Yeah, appreciate it so much. Have a good one. I'll talk to you.